Hey, welcome to the Micheaux Mission, Two Men, One Podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, a.k.a. the Bat Tribble, and as always, I am joined by my partner.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
It is June, which means that it is Black Music Month all over the world.
Yeah.
I said it. And that means it is also Black Music Month here in the Mission, and we have a very special presentation for you tonight, as Vincent and I are going to be looking at two competing projects from the year of 2021 that each looked at the life of a certifiable music icon.
Yes.
And that would be Aretha Franklin. We're going to be looking at 2021's Respect, starring Jennifer Hudson, versus NatGeo's Genius series, which devoted their third season to Aretha, a 8-part series starring Cynthia Erivo as Aretha Franklin. That is what we're going to be looking at, contrasting, comparing. What did they have to say? What did they miss about the life of Aretha Franklin? And before we get into that in particular, I know we've talked about this previously on other stops on the mission, but there are few who hold a candle to Aretha Franklin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
With you, Vincent.
Yo, yeah. I mean, look, she is actually the queen. You know, this is foundational. Yeah. Absolutely foundational. I don't think there is any accolade. There's no honor that you could bestow upon Aretha Franklin that I don't think is 100% not earned. And I think that run of the albums from, you know, I Never Loved a Man As Much As I Loved You to, you know, I'll Break Protocol. I think the album that she had with Quincy Jones, Angel.
Yeah.
Like, some people stop before Angel, but I think Angel is an absolute masterpiece. I think that run of 6-7 albums is like, I'll hear some like I'll listen to an argument for 2 or 3 other artists, but yeah, you know, yeah, foundational, absolutely foundational.
Yeah, and the albums you're talking about I Never Loved a Man the Way That I Love You, which dropped in 1967. And after that, there's Aretha Arrives, Lady Soul, Aretha Now, Soul 69, Soft and Beautiful, This Girl's in Love with You, Spirit in the Dark, Young, Gifted, and Black,
Look,
Hey Now, Hey, The Other Side of the Sky, Let Me in Your Life, With Everything I Feel in Me, You, then she appears on the Sparkle soundtrack.
Right. Because you got to put that in there.
They got to put that in
there.
there.
Yeah, even though it's a Curtis Mayfield produced album, this is very much in that pocket.
Then you have, and then to close this out, the 70s going into the 80s with Sweet Passion, Almighty Fire, La Diva, and Aretha. I'm not seeing Angel on.
What's the one Quincy Jones did? I know. I think Angel is on there.
Yeah, that may be the song that's on there. Let me see. Oh, it's going to take me a minute to figure out which one she did with Quincy Jones. Nope, it's not that one.
I'm looking right at it.
And we're off and running. Because she did Almighty Fires with Curtis Mayfield. What's the album cover? You said you're looking at it.
Oh, Hey Now, Hey. It's Hey Now, Hey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and that's even before Let Me in Your Life with Everything I Feel You and the Sparkle soundtrack.
Yeah.
That's before that.
Yeah.
The Sparkle soundtrack is incredible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, she is certifiable. One of the immortal voices, sounds of the world. I have to admit that growing up, I wasn't a huge Aretha Franklin fan, but I definitely knew her music. My sister, she is my older sister's favorite singer.
I mean,
and so her music was all around. And then I have to say that as much as I knew her music and appreciated it, it wasn't until seeing her in the Blues Brothers that made me say, wow, she is amazing. And then I backtracked and just took,
I think and this will come up in my critique of both of these projects. I don't think you can overemphasize the importance of that appearance in the Blues Brother and how that single-handedly introduced her
to a lot of
a brand new audience. Like I think what you just said is the quintessential Gen X bleeding into Gen Y a little bit experience, where for many of us, because Aretha Franklin was our mothers, our older sisters, our aunts, it doesn't even feel like it's enough to say their favorite music, singer.
Yeah.
It was like their muse.
You're right. And I want to touch on that later.
Like saying your mother liked Aretha Franklin and you heard Aretha Franklin was like saying, the smell of collard greens. Like it just permeated it. So it was hard to separate Aretha Franklin's artistry from just being a part of the fabric of your life.
Yeah.
And then that Blues Brothers moment where it was like, oh, I think for many of us, that was our real introduction. It was certainly mine. And we talked about it when we reviewed the Blues Brothers.
Yeah. So let's start with the 2021 film.
Yeah.
Respect. And let's start with this one because this is the film project, this biography of Aretha Franklin's life that had actually kind of like was in the works for so long.
Right. This is the one that the estate
they signed off
on.
And the one that Aretha Franklin signed off on before her passing in 2018 by apparently asking Jennifer Hudson, I want you to play me in this film that I'm developing of my life. Respect from 2021, a biographical musical drama that was directed by Lascelles Tommy in her feature directorial debut, stars Jennifer Hudson as Aretha Franklin. The story goes from Aretha Franklin as a young child all the way to her recording of the Amazing Grace at that great, returning home to the church with her father in the 70s. That was captured in a documentary that's only recently just been unearthed.
Which you have to talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah. The film stars Jennifer Hudson as Aretha Franklin. It also stars Forrest Whitaker as her father, Audra McDonald as her mother, Mark Maron, Titus Burgess, Mary J. Blige, and Vincent's favorite, Marlon Wayans. In this film. And also, let's give some props to Sky Dakota Turner, who plays a young Aretha Franklin in this film, as well as Sagan Singblow, who plays her, and Haley Kilgore, who plays her sisters, Irma and Caroline, and Heather Headley popping up as Clara Ward. In this film from 2021 that, tells Aretha Franklin's life, is probably another star vehicle for Jennifer Hudson, who famously reproduces a lot of the classics of Aretha Franklin.
Yes, she does.
For this song. for this film in her own style, in her own way, which and Jennifer Hudson is an incredible singer, so she does a lot of these songs justice. What do you got to say about this film?
I'll just start with the word unfortunately. Unfortunately, this film is exactly what I thought it was going to be. And you knew it, and we've talked about this many times at this point. I think this film out the gate had two strikes against it. Aretha Franklin is so beloved, so iconic, so just sacred.
Yes, there you go. She is sainted.
That nothing is ever really going to dig into the life of Aretha Franklin in any true, accurate fashion. And this is particularly a challenge with someone like Aretha Franklin, who has had an amazingly complicated life.
Yes.
You know, she gets pregnant at 12 years old. She gets pregnant at 15 years old. By definition, she has been sexually assaulted. Her amazingly complicated relationship with her father. Her father as an amazingly complicated figure. I think Aretha Franklin herself is complicated. And this film very much plays a lot of it with kid gloves. Like, you can tell the people in Aretha Franklin's life that the Franklin estate decided are going to be the sacrificial lamb that serve as the antagonist, particularly her first husband.
Yeah.
Ted White, played by Marlon Wayans, who, you know, put a pin in Marlon Wayans. And I think that, and then the second strike is, of course, anything that the estate signs off on. As you mentioned, Aretha Franklin hand chose Jennifer Hudson. Aretha Franklin and the Franklin estate were very involved.
And it should be so noted that as complicated as her life was, Aretha Franklin was very guarded with her.
Franklin was amazingly guarded with her, which is her right. You know, to be clear, I don't think we are owed
Not at
this. But if you're going to do it, do it. So right there, I think that hampers the film right out the gate. The storytelling is you know, it kind of, the choices that are made with the chronology are ones that I wouldn't make. Like, you spend 20 minutes with Aretha as a child. It's an hour before she gets on Atlantic, which I think is an amazing mishap. There's a moment in the film where she and her husband go into Muscle Shoals.
Yeah.
And that's where the beginning of the great run begins. And I wrote in my notes, this is where the movie should have started, right here. And then, you know, you kind of go from there because there's so much of her life that isn't addressed. Like you said, it ends at Amazing Grace. I think Aretha Franklin has an amazing second act that is not touched upon at all. Frankly, I don't think it's touched upon in the NatGeo series either, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. Performances, I think, again, everyone in the film, I think Forrest Whitaker is not fully committing.
Yeah.
I think some of the casting choices are confusing. Titus Burgess, I can't take Titus. Frankly, I literally cannot take him seriously. Like, Titus Burgess plays James Cleveland, and he, you know, I just see him as this comedic actor. And that doesn't work. You know, you talked about Marlon Wayans, and Marlon Wayans is actually distractingly ridiculous as Ted White. And I say that fully with my chest as someone who has very vocally and consistently been a fan of Marlon Wayans as an actor. But I think Marlon Wayans, it's too much going on. Like I think anytime a well-known actor is in period clothing and period hairstyles, like he has an afro and this mustache, you're already treading on thin ice, that you look a little ridiculous. He has this affectation where I assume he's imitating the way that Ted White speaks that comes off as comical. I don't think he and Jennifer Hudson have any chemistry. Like, for this to be this very sexual relationship where they're drawn to each other, I never feel any of that on the screen. Which then gets to what I think is what makes this project the weakest. I think Jennifer Hudson is so tenuous and sort of almost playing with kid gloves. I think she loves Aretha Franklin so much that I never get a sense of her as Aretha Franklin. The irony is that I'm going to assume that Miss Franklin chose Jennifer Hudson because of her role in Dreamgirls,
which is what they say,
where she plays an Aretha Franklin type.
Exactly.
She is better as Aretha Franklin in Dreamgirls than she is in this.
Yeah.
And that's the real shame. I think the one shining light of this film, Jennifer Hudson, her voice is magnificent, is absolutely magnificent. There is a moment in this film where she recreates Aretha Franklin singing not I Never Loved a Man as Much as I Love You, but she's singing Ain't No Way.
Yes.
And it is so much better than any other moment in the film that it is shocking. And this is a moment, as you said, Jennifer Hudson is not imitating Aretha Franklin when she sings. Like, this is Jennifer Hudson.
Yeah, putting her stamp on.
Putting her stamp on it. And it is amazing. And those are the strongest parts of the film, when Jennifer Hudson gets to sing.
Yeah.
But besides that...
Yeah, almost like she's doing Aretha Franklin cosplay a little bit.
Right.
Yes,
right.
I agree with you.
But besides that, I did. Like, there were so many... And, you know, perhaps if it was a more seasoned director...
Yes.
You would have gotten something... But yeah, this film, again, I'll end where I started. This film, unfortunately, is exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's funny you pointed out that moment. That is a powerful moment. But the other powerful moment in this film for the Aretha Franklin character is the moment where you see young Aretha with her mother, played by Audra McDonald,
who is classing up the joint.
She's too classy.
She's I forgot her because I felt like the not to cut you off, the 10 minutes she's in the film, it's like a whole other film wandered into this film.
And there's a moment where she's with young Aretha at the piano.
Oh my goodness!
And they want to talk, but she says she doesn't want to talk. So, well, I'll sing and talk, because she's been there singing, and they are conversing with one another, and it is such a beautiful, beautiful moment. And then that is bookended at the end, where Aretha Franklin, her mother, who dies early in the film, but she returns in a vision when Jennifer Hudson is battling her demons of alcoholism, and she returns to her when she's at her worst, takes the bottle from her hands and just holds her in her head, in her arms, and lightly sings to her. You could barely hear Audra McDonald singing, and smartly the direction, all sound drops out, so you're just hearing her hold her daughter and singing to her. It is so sweet, such a beautiful, tender moment, and that is the best scene in this film to me. Mm-hmm. And those two bookends they almost make up for the rest of the film. Like you said, I don't know. Marlon Wayans, we've championed him. Mm-hmm. It went left in this.
He made a choice.
He made a choice.
He made a choice.
He made a choice. Okay, bruh. Well, I can't be mad at you. You made a choice.
Right.
But it was the wrong choice.
Yeah.
There is no chemistry between him and Jennifer Hudson. The chemistry, I think when Jennifer Hudson as Aretha Franklin is acting against everybody else that is who she is not supposed to be in a relationship with, she's good. Because Mark Maron as Jerry Wexler,
yeah.
Oh my God, he is well, I'm a huge fan of Mark Maron, but he brings so much energy to this movie. Mm-hmm. Like he almost makes the scenes with him and Marlon Wayans work. Mm-hmm. But the scenes with him and Jennifer Hudson are fantastic. The scenes with Jennifer Hudson's Aretha Franklin, and there are some moments, not as many as I would like, but there are some moments of her with her sisters that are good. The moment with Mary J. Blige as Dinah Washington.
Yeah.
And she says, "Bitch, are you going to sing
the Queen song?
The Queen songs
in front of the Queen?
I was like, oh, Mary? And then Mary goes backstage?
You know that's based on a true story.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Which, for me, who all I know is Dinah Washington from my mom played Dinah Washington music, I'm like, this is a whole other side of Dinah Washington.
Yeah, apparently she was a firecracker.
I'm like, okay, Dinah Washington, I'm with you. And you're played by Mary J. Blige, who is the king of hip hop, and R&B and soul. So those scenes worked for me. But overall, yes, the whole thing doesn't come together for me. And you're right, it plays safe with the whole demons thing. It kind of like wants to, hey, we showed that she had young children. We showed that she was an alcoholic. We showed that, yes, they got into some violent scrapes. Even though I do have to say that there was one directorial choice that I appreciated, that you don't immediately see them fighting in the lobby. That's kind of like shown in like some quick cut flashbacks, interspersed with some dialogue. I actually like that directorial choice. I think the director LaSalle Tommy, while this being her feature film debut, I think she comports herself very well. She shows herself very well in this. I don't think it's it's not Barry Jenkins' debut. It's not D-Rez debut, but it's not a bad film. But it unfortunately has to, clear the censors of the Aretha Franklin estate.
Right.
And I think that at the end of the day is going to hamper it. Unlike the competing project, 2021's Genius series on NatGeo, where they kind of like look at one artist and do like a whole documentary series on their life. And for their third season in 2021, they chose to do the life of Aretha Franklin, and they cast another phenomenal singer in this role and actress, Cynthia Erivo, as Aretha Franklin. This project, the estate had nothing to do with.
No.
And in fact, they actually were trying to hold protests to stop people from actually seeing the film, seeing this documentary, and withheld access to the the Aretha Franklin's greatest hits from this project. You know, you have some hints of it, but there's no real true recreation of a lot of her hits in this.
They do Rock Steady.
Right.
Which is my favorite moment in the whole thing, quite frankly.
But this is an eight-part series, and it, alongside, you know, Cynthia Erivo in the cast, it also
Courtney B. Vance.
C.L.
Franklin.
C.L. Franklin. It also features David Cross as Jerry Wexler, Michael Barrett as Ted White, Patrice Covington and Rebecca Naomi Jones as her sisters Irma and Caroline. And it also features T.I. as Ken Cunningham. Luke James as Glenn Turman shows up in this film. We also have friend of the show Omar Dorsey.
He sure is
in the James Cleveland.
I'm about to say it's James Cleveland
in the James Cleveland role in this film, in this docuseries. Let's put it that way. And what did you have to say about this? I actually, for the most part, I found this one like a little equally uneven. I'm a fan of Cynthia Erivo as an actor and as a singer. I think that as an actor, she comports herself a little stronger than Jennifer Hudson in respect. To your point, this docuseries actually does start with them on the road to Muscle Shoals to record with Jerry Wexler and all of the white blues band down there. I think that, and by virtue of it being a 8-part series,
right? They have more room.
They've got more room.
Breathe.
They got more room to breathe. They can spend a lot more time expanding on some things, which they do. I think, and they play with the time. You know, that we're constantly going back to her as a child, and returning to her in you know, as an adult. So they're playing with the time stream a little bit. But even with that, I still felt there was a little unevenness with the project as a whole. They delve a little deeper into the bones of Aretha Franklin. I don't feel like the estate claimed them that they were being disrespectful. I don't feel they were disrespectful to Aretha at all in this. I just think that overall they dug a little deeper. They showed some more of the violence. I think they could have, you know, they dealt with some of the darker stuff. They put it out there for people to make their choices.
Look. Well, I'll hold that. Of the two projects, I think as a biographical project like you, it's a stronger project. Mainly because you have more space to really delve into things. I think Cynthia Erivo's Aretha Franklin is almost pitch perfect as the character Aretha Franklin. Like Cynthia Erivo as an actor, I think very much is Aretha Franklin. Like Aretha actually has a very specific cadence when she spoke, and Cynthia Erivo sounds like her. Now, my hot take, and you know, I don't know how much you gonna be upset about this or not. I am ready to admit I'm not actually a fan of Cynthia Erivo singing.
Okay, fair.
I think Cynthia Erivo is what many of us, including myself at time over the years, accuse Beyonce of. I think she has a very powerful voice. I think technically she is someone who has mastered that voice, who clearly has studied. But Cynthia Erivo just sounds like she's doing a job every time I hear her sing. Like whether it's The Color Purple, whether it is her covering someone else, like she was just at the Tonys last night. You know, it pained me to say it when we saw her in Wicked. Like frankly, I think Ariana Grande was better than her in Wicked. Like, at the risk of just sort of being reduced, like Cynthia Erivo just doesn't have soul to me. And when she was in her singing, you know, the irony is, as soon as she closes her mouth to sing, she is Aretha Franklin. It's just when she sang in this, it was just, again, it was almost like AI.
You're right.
Singing it.
I agree.
Okay, well, thank you, because
I like her singing, but I agree with your I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, so in my mind, that you know, the sad part is that was the weakest part of her performance to me as Aretha Franklin. But when she was Aretha, she was fantastic. But look, let's just bottom line, like all this tiptoeing around Aretha Franklin's life and the kid gloves and the disrespect, it has never been about Aretha Franklin. This is about C.L. Franklin,
her father,
and his legacy. And I think what really upset them the most, Courtney B. Vance's portrayal of C.L. Franklin at these infamous parties, and the way he conducts himself, and the way we the way we obscure James Cleveland's sexuality and everything, and the again, frankly, the by definition sexual abuse that Aretha Franklin suffered at the hands of men around her. We don't want to talk about all of this because that reflects badly on C.L. Franklin. And in my mind, for me, the Franklin dynamic was the strongest part of this project versus the other. Like, I think Aretha had a complicated relationship with her sisters.
I think she did.
That they touch on in one scene in the movie.
Yes.
But they deal with it a bit more in this project. But as you said, even dealing with it more deeply and substantially than the film, it's not really dealt with that much.
Right.
And that weakens the overall project.
But I wonder, to that point.
And you know, just to finish, like as we said, the film, neither project really touches on her second act. Really, not really. Like they show the part where she leaves Atlantic, she and Jerry Wexler kind of break, and she goes off, but that's really kind of the end. Like,
yeah,
both of these projects were exercises in legacy building. And much like we've talked about other, you know, whether we're talking about Get On Up, like these sort of post-Ray projects, people are telling their story. People are laying out their legacy, which, as we just said, is their right. But in the midst of doing that, it weakens it as an artistic project. And I think so much time is spent on this period with Ted White, with her second husband, with Ken Cunningham, with, you know, we're trying to massage and present this relationship with her father, is because Aretha Franklin and the Franklin estate want to lay this narrative out, which, as we talked about when we watched it, we would argue that's why they were so resistant to the release of Amazing Grace.
Yes.
Because Amazing Grace, the truth don't care who tells it. You can tell whatever story you want. You can see on the footage of Amazing Grace how complicated the dynamic is between Aretha Franklin, who is at the height of her power, the relationship in the dynamic between her and her father and her and James Cleveland. And that footage tells the tale more than all, I think, 8 hours of Genius and 2 hours and 25 minutes of Respect do.
Yeah. And the shame of it is, like you just said, it's going back to Respect. At its 2 hours and 25 minutes, like they had the room to get a little bit more meat on that bones.
Right.
You know? I will push back on one thing you did say about Respect. I meant to clock about Titus Burgess as James Cleveland. I get that he's usually a comedic actor. And I think he is a little softer in this. I actually enjoyed his performance.
Yeah, I thought he was miscast, and all jokes aside, I know he's our friend and all, but Omar is so good as James Cleveland. I think he captures the physicality. I think frankly, I think James Cleveland's queerness informs Omar's depiction of him, which, the irony is that I feel like Titus Burgess tries to downplay it. Irony because, Titus Burgess is openly gay. Yeah. But I felt like he was almost, like, I guess because he's openly gay, he was trying to not be too, quote unquote swishy. But because of that, I felt the restraint in him. But I thought that was consistent throughout the film. That every performer in Respect, there's this restraint, there's this sort of hands-offness, except for, again, the aforementioned Audra McDonald.
Yeah.
Who...
Well, she don't care.
Or she's just friggin' Audra McDonald.
Or also she is playing a character who is not represented in Genius.
Right.
She's playing the mom.
Right.
Which I thought was actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
That in Genius, they really kind of like play up more of the mother figure.
Right.
Being these women, a couple of the women that
again, biographically, Aretha Franklin's mother left those kids.
Yeah.
With Reverend Franklin. That is something that is a controversial move for a mother today.
Yeah.
So for a woman who did that back then, you can imagine what her status was, what her reputation was. So, I get the sense that Aretha Franklin and the Franklin estate, again, justifiably, that's her mama, were trying to rehabilitate her reputation a bit.
Yeah. Well, either way, I will say, regardless of what we think, I think both of these are projects that are worthy of being taken on.
Oh. Again, I enjoyed the NatGeo Genius.
I did too,
and had not planned on enjoying it.
Me neither.
I think I talked to you about it when we watched it. Like, me and Wendy threw on an episode on a Humble and said, well, let's just see what the hubbub is, because remember, there was controversy. So we threw on an episode on a Humble and then watched all 8 of them. And then even this, with all of my misgivings and all, with Respect, the very first thing I did when the film went off is I downloaded the soundtrack.
Yeah. Seeing Jennifer Hudson.
The funny thing is, me and Camille watched the last part of it with me, and we were laughing because, it's Jennifer Hudson, and Jennifer Hudson is a powerful, I think it, like, you can count on one hand the women that sing better than Jennifer Hudson right now, and you might have some fingers left. Then they show some footage of Aretha Franklin in her last performance.
And still.
And it was like, never, ever forget who the queen is.
That's right.
So, yeah, I mean, look.
That's right. Real quick before we get out here, just one thing I wanted to touch on. Aretha Franklin, rightfully the Queen of Soul.
Yes.
In the film, we have Mary J. Blige.
Yes.
The Queen of Hip Hop.
The Queen of Hip Hop Soul.
Hip Hop Soul. And I can see the correlation. I see that.
Sure.
I see that almost bequeathing of, you can have a piece of the tiara.
Yes.
Who's got it now? Or who's the princess
of soul?
Yeah.
Right now? Woo!
I know Beyonce wants it to be her.
I don't even know if Beyonce wants it to be her. I think Beyonce is the queen of everything. Like, she's just bigger than everything. I'm always gonna go with Jilly from Philly. I'm always going with Jill Scott. I'll put Jill Scott up against anybody right now.
Yeah, but it's Jill Scott now. Jill Scott, I mean, because even now, Jill Scott's career is like 20 years old.
I mean, you got to take the crown to get the crown.
Okay, so you're saying she still holds. She still got it.
Yeah.
It's coming for her crown right now.
Oh, come on, Lynn.
I mean, I know.
I'm
asking the wrong person.
Don't get me to shake my hand.
I'm asking the wrong person. I'm sorry. All right, Jill Scott.
First of all,
okay.
Can't none of these girls sing except Beyonce. Who under 40 can sing?
Jasmine Sullivan.
Okay, that's true. You know what? I always forget how. No. I always forget how young Jasmine Sullivan is. Because Jasmine Sullivan, first of all, she's been singing with grown people, much like Aretha Franklin.
Yes.
Like, first time I saw Jasmine Sullivan, she was like 11 at the
Five Spot.
At the Five Spot. Yeah. So I always forget how young Jasmine Sullivan is. She got a grown ass woman voice.
Yeah.
All right, Jasmine Sullivan. Now she can sing.
She can sing.
But she the only one under 40 that can sing.
Okay.
All right.
So that's who I was actually thinking. I wanted to see if you were going to pull that.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe.
Yeah.
But my thought was.
All right. Jill going to have to drink her tea with lemon if Jasmine come around. I ain't saying Jill can't take Jasmine, but she gonna have to do some breathing exercises before the show starts.
Jasmine can sing.
Jasmine can blow,
but I don't think she wants Jill.
Yeah,
Jill don't want Jill.
Yeah, Jasmine can blow though.
Yeah, she can.
Yeah.
She can, but she don't want Jill.
I'm pretty much done.
Fair.
Under 40. Yeah.
That may be right.
Yeah.
Maybe right. But there you go.
There you go.
There's our Black Music Month special for you. Before we tell you what we're going to be reviewing next week here on the Micheaux Mission, I invite you to let us know what you thought of this Black Music Month special. You can email us at micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUXMISSION@gmail.com. You can find us on all your social media, Instagram, Facebook, at Micheaux Mission. You can find us on YouTube, where you're watching us right now, where you can subscribe, hit the bell, and be notified of when we go live. When we go live next week. We're not live now, but we're going live next week. Right here from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace. If you want to book yourself in one of their fabulous studios, hit up our man Dylan at youngjunk.com. That's DYLAN at youngjunk.com. The Micheaux Mission is available as a podcast on Apple, Spotify, everywhere you find podcasts. You'll find the Micheaux Mission, which is brought to you by The Podglomerate. ThePodglomerate.com. They make podcasts work, such as ours, which will be here, returning live June 24th, right here at Young Junk, to finally and officially sit down and review from 2025 Ryan Coogler's Sinners, starring Michael B. Jordan.
And Michael B. Jordan.
And
we invite all of you in.
Yes. Next week, here on the Micheaux Mission. Until then, he's Vincent, I'm Len, and in parting we say,
we'll see you in the